Elementary with us. And actually, we've been doing this since 2014. So for elementary school, it's our classroom is actually this year is our 8th year. And I'm so glad that many years ago, 2013, um, our team actually, Sophie, that we made this decision that let's try elementary school. Of course, right before that, we heading to towards looking for teachers, lecturers, or any school that are willing to take us in and then let us visit and learn from them. And that is a great journey. And ever since, no regret on that is because when I was in 3 to 6 years old, and it's so much fun. So now every time when I come to 3 to 6 years old classroom, I was like, oh, they're so cute, they're so cute. Oh, those little children are so cute. It doesn't mean that my elementary children are not cute. They are cute in their own other way. So every day it was so diverse. The classroom is so diverse, and I really want to start like today. Recently they are so busy right after the charity brunch, and then heading towards the National Day. Then now is upcoming the Mid Autumn Festival. Woo! Our children said, "Ooh!" But they told us they are so busy, but they say to me they enjoyed it so much. I said, "I'm so glad that you did." I myself, I felt like, whoa, the things like come next and next, another thing. But I'm glad, I'm really glad that they say, Miss Sarah, I really enjoy coming to school, although that there's a lot of work to do. So I say, wow, that's great. So we had all these conversations during our lunchtime, and like today, everybody they've been trying to make their own lantern since the last week started. Actually, when we end the National Day, then they start to kickstart to make their own lantern. So it took them already actually a week to do the lantern, to make the lantern. So I'm so glad when they told me that they still enjoy the school, although it's very busy. That's how actually elementary classroom is. Actually, if you have a chance to come in and sit down, you will notice that's how it is. They are here and there. Sometimes they work with the teachers, then they will sometimes they will work alone with themselves, and most of the time they will work with their classmates, with their group. Then they create their own study group. They do their own study, and then they go and take some of the worksheet that where we already prepare for them. Then they start to have group discussion. So that's how an elementary classroom is very dynamic. I could tell you it's very dynamic, and it's very diversity as well. The things that they want to learn is actually most of the time it's not really on our plan. We have our plan, but we want them to learn. We want to teach them, but they have their own big plan of what they want to learn. So that's how we actually combine what the teacher plan and the children's own plan. We combine it together in the classroom. So basically it runs like simultaneously sometimes. So they have their plan, we have our plan, so we work together. But their plan, and most of the time they actually complete it by themselves, is because they can go and do research in whichever way they want to do their presentation. And for the teachers, it's more to our core base of a Montessori core base lesson than our syllabus. So, and I remember that yesterday there's a visitor and say, do you have a Montessori syllabus? I said, yes, of course we do. We have Montessori syllabus actually. So it's just like how the government school, they have their blueprint of the whole core of the lesson that they need the children to learn. And Montessori classroom, our elementary, as well as 3 to 6, we also have it. We have a Montessori syllabus as well. And I'm so glad that recently there's one parent told me, she went to an international school. So she visited an international school. Then she came back and said, Miss Sam, do you know that whatever that my daughter learned in your school actually is, which was taught in that international school as well, is actually is the same thing. So for some parents, they might thought, most of you might think that we are totally different from others. Yes, perhaps I could say yes, we're different in the methodology, okay, in the philosophy itself. But actually, basically, the core learning is almost the same. What the elementary need to learn outside, they need to learn in our school as well. So let's go have a look of what is a Montessori Elementary. So let's do a very, very quick revision. I almost say this every time. So we have a few stages, a few planes. There's 4 planes in development, 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, and 18 to 24 years old. So we focus on 6 to 12 years old today. They are very sensitive of the cosmic order. They want to know everything and everything. They just want to find out what are the relationship of the environment with them. And what they have to do, and how things was created, for example, how the universe was created. And in the classroom, whenever it comes to cosmic thing, it is a big topic, parents. So there were times that children would say, I rather believe in science than believe in others. So then others will say, are you sure? I believe in God. So that's a great conversation that actually will sparkle more interest, and it triggers more learning in the classroom. That is what we're actually looking for in a Montessori classroom. And that's why I say it was so dynamic that sometimes if you miss out even a conversation of a children, between children, we miss out quite a lot of things actually in the classroom if we miss it out. So that's why during our lunchtime is a time that's very busy. Everybody start to talk, and then they start to, the children start just gathering around and eat together, and then they start to talk. So that's time for me, the best time for me to actually put my ear close to them, so I could listen to their conversation. And from their conversation, it actually sparked interest, and it's actually will spark more curiosity, and they actually teach me how to teach them. So they're also looking for moral order, analytical thinking, a peer, or we call a herd learning, the herding association. So they love to work together. That's why it is great that some of the children, they will actually set up their own study group in the classroom. So whenever they're free, so they will just tell their friend, if you're free at this time, please come and join. So they're going to start to have a group study, 2, 3 of them, or just 4 of them in a group. And then at this age as well, as I say, is what is a moral order? They looking for justice. So at this age, fairness are very important. We as an adult, so when we have to face so many of the children, even though perhaps you only have one child at home, you have to remember at this age group of children, this plane, they are looking for justice and fairness. So we have to explain to them why. There must be a reason behind almost everything that we did. And also, we will actually require them to give us a reason as well, even though, for example, like not doing homework, okay? For example, not doing homework. So they have to come back with reason, with a solid reason and why they can't finish. And is there any reason that they would like to prolong their working time? So that is a time, and it comes to that part, because they are looking for justice and fairness. So reasoning is very important in the classroom. And then analytical thinking. So they will analyze of certain people, and they will analyze certain cases. And of course, not recently, but I could say what it really happened, that we know that happened to our former prime minister. So they actually discuss in the classroom as well, because they actually being exposed to the prime minister of Malaysia when they learn about the National Day. And so some older children, they start to discuss, and they say, "Oh, I know this prime minister. I saw it. I heard it from the news, things like this." So then they start to have conversation. They will ask why, what really happened, So those that is really the analytical thinking. And also the analytical thinking is actually, they put a lot in their work, especially in their project work. And then the herding, the peer learnings, the herd learning, as I mentioned just now, they love to work in a group. So they love to follow their friends around and work with them. So this is a very dynamic period of time for the 6 to 12 years old. Do you see my chart there? Okay, so you could see that there's up and down, up and down, up and down. So from 6 to 9 years old, it's actually it's a very dynamic learning, and this time is very diverse, because this is a time where the great imagination spark parents. So 6 to 12 years old, the imagination actually sparking right now. So this is the time that where we're going to give them the 5 grade lesson of Montessori, and I'm going to with the 5 grade lesson later. So 6 to 9 years old is really the peak of their imagination, and it is also the period where the learning is burning. So when you see this 9 to 12 years old is more mellow, they are more mellow in their learning, because they actually enhancing whatever they have learned previously at this age. They're consolidating. So that's why you see from 6 to 9 is a period of construction, and 9 to 12 is a period of consolidating their learning. So what are the core components in the Montessori education? And we follow that. First thing definitely is a multi-age classroom. To have a multi-age classroom is an amazing environment where how I wish that I were in when I'm young as well, in multi-age classroom. I only in multi-age classroom when I'm in kindergarten, but not in primary. So how I wish every time I say, wow, if I could have a Montessori education when I'm in primary school, that would be great. Because I love the multi-age classroom. I actually witnessed how the eldest children, guide and lead the younger one, the junior, and the junior as well. Actually, they are being their confidence are being built up, and then they will follow the footstep of the senior, and then they will guide the new children. And not only that, the learning is so dynamic. It is like a mini community of ourselves, and they are helping each other. So they are learning from each other. And the best thing is whenever in a multi-age classroom, they learn to voice up. They learn about their rights. So it's not the matter of the age in the classroom, it's a matter of the things that we're going to discuss. So I like it, especially when we have meeting with the children, and then it's lovely to see how those younger, the junior, they actually brave themselves up and they speak up. And then the older children as well, they work it so well, they delegate work to the younger one, to the junior in the classroom. So the multi-age is a very beautiful environment. It is so naturally, it's just like how our working environment is actually, it's all multi-age. Then respect, of course, the respect, if you go back to the core respect, it is the same like the 3 to 6 years old. The same like the 3 to 6 years old classroom. Respect, we respect people, respect our apparatus. So we respect the environment, and the respect, the core respect is still the same. But another thing, that we respect your voice. We respect everybody's ideas, and we respect your thoughts. And that is the different, a little bit difference from the 3 to 6 years old classroom. When I talk about this respect, it's in between the peers. Okay, then we have a self-directed work. So in the 6 to 12 years old classroom, you will notice that they will have a period of time they work with teachers, and there will be a certain period of time they have to work by themselves. And they will also have a time they work with a small group of people. So mainly they have quite a lot of self-directed work, where I could show you some pictures to share with you later. And of course, we have the Montessori materials, and if you've been to the 6 to 12 years old classroom, perhaps you will notice that, hey, the material is almost the same. I mean, the practices is almost the same with the 3 to 6 years old. Yes, I say yes. almost half of it. But the way they use the apparatus is totally different of how the 3 to 6 years old use it. The 6 to 12 years old, they will learn new concept by using the classroom material, but whatever the previous concept they need to consolidate, they will always go back to the material, and the material act as a media and guidance for the children in the classroom. And of course, they use it in a different way in their level of learning. So it's different from 3 to 6 years old classroom, but definitely all the foundation came from the 3 to 6. Then we have uninterrupted work periods. There's a period of time when they want to work by themselves. I'm so sorry because I was in the office and the children just next to me and they keep waving to me. So sorry if I'm not looking at you, actually, because they are actually waving at me right now. So, and then there's an uninterrupted work period is where children, they will have a certain period of time whenever they finish lesson with the teachers. So basically, they will have about 1.5 hours. Sometimes they will have a fully 1 hours of free time, but perhaps sometimes they can't get a fully of free time because we also have the timetable matter. But however, because in between the slot, they will have at least 30 minutes. So if I add it together, basically in a day, they will have about at least 1 hour free time. So they could use that free time to do their work, whatever project they are into it or whatever work that they want to spend their times in. Like right now in your classroom, because we say that this is going to be our Malaysian month, and I brought in the Chongkai to the classroom. So the Chongkai became one of the most famous game in the classroom right now. They whenever they're free, even a 2 minutes free time, they will quickly and sit down and get someone and play Chongkai. So that's something very interesting. So that's how it works in the classroom. The free time is their free time. We will not interrupt them with any other thing, except if they have some unfinished work, some pending work, so they have to use their free time with their working time. So that is the only condition if this happens in the classroom. So the curriculum here that children 6 to 12 realize that the world is actually very enormous. And then besides they study about continents, the continents will be, they actually will zoom in into their cultures, into many other things, like our senior actually, whenever they learn about continents, countries, they're not only learning about their city, capital city, and their province or states in the country, or they were learning into more detail, for example, the flags. They wanted to know the meaning of the flags, the colors that they use, and what's their national emblem. They even have children that actually what would they ask? They ask what are the main economy of that country. So economy, when we talk about economy, my goodness, isn't that we learn economy when we in secondary school? But in here, the children start to ask, so what's their government, and then what are their main economy? So their learning in continents and countries is actually in the more higher levels from their previous learning. But as I say, come back again, it is actually all this is from their previous 3 to 6 years old experience. Of course, scientific concept. So in our science class, actually, we use a lot of STEM concept of experiment that we use, where children can do a lot of hands-on work, and they love hands-on. And then we also went into the literatures like poems, and we read books, great books. And also children need to learn how to write a story, an essay, and also they write poems. And some of them, they even write plays in the classroom. So some of them write song. So those are actually literature as well. And then every week we are required them to bring home some books for reading, and then they can do sharing in the classroom about the books that they read. And so of course everything is elementary curriculum guides the child through identifying, classifying. There's a lot of classifying work in a classroom, and definitely is the researching. The researching part is very, very fascinating. And the children came back with their research, and they found something where we don't even notice that, they actually share things with us a lot. And yeah, in whatever they want to study. For example, recently actually what they did was the era. So some of them, they say they want to do the Jurassic period, some of them want to do Triassic period. So they actually make it into a PPT, a PowerPoint, and then they share with us. So the finding was amazing. And from there, actually, children learn about how they're going to use the words, and how are they going to filter out all those information that they found it in the internet, from the internet. So it's great. It's really fascinating. And then like practical language, math, geometry, botany, geology, and geography as well. And history are all presented in the classroom. Sorry for just now, it just stopped for a little while. With material that lead the children to abstraction. And of course, history is one of the most very interesting as well. And geography, geology, all this actually, they learn geometry, but in 3 to 6 years old classroom is known as the sensorial. So, but in elementary, it's actually a geometry. We use almost the same set of apparatus, but they use it in a geometrical way, where they learn how to count the angle, and they learn how to construct things by learning how to use the mathematical geometrical set. And then, of course, the botany, geology are more to the classifying and identifying. And then the history. So like recently, they learned a lot about the history of Malaysia. And then, of course, they also will learn about the world history, like the Egyptians, the ancient Egypts, and then the Romans, and the Chinese as well. But not much the Chinese, that part they yet, now I have any kids that have sparkled any interest on the China history. So all kind of history in the classroom, actually, they love it. They like it very much. And then from the history, they will ask a lot of questions. And of course, science as well. Science is one of the part that what children learn how to hands-on, a lot of hands-on thing. And then when it comes to practical life, every day they need to clean the classroom. Previously, actually, they did cook, so we will come back to that part as well, since everything is back to normal. So they're going back to cook for the children, for lunch for everyone, at least once a week. Then this, you can see, is most of the time they actually work not only themselves, but they love them. Actually, they love to work in a group where there's a lot of discussions and problem solving in the classroom. So like language, we have English, Bahasa, and Mandarin, and then maths and geometry, we have science, history, geography, and music and art. So it's actually an individual pace, I could say. It is really an individual pace in the classroom. So we don't have a specific like age group of children. If you're, let's say, if your English level is par, right above your par, we will have you to join a senior group, for example. Even the senior, sometimes, let's say, if their Bahasa is not on the par, they actually, we will put them in a group where it's suitable for them. So it is really, we design for their own pace of learning. But yet at the same time, they need to learn what they need to learn as well. So in all Montessori level, elementary program is based on the children learn best through movement and works with their hand. Of course, it provides cognitive, social, and emotion support to help them reach to their full potential. So this is the class that where one of their friend, their Iranian friend, said she want to teach us how to cook Iranian food. So the children is very excited about this, and then they learn a lot about the Iran. They learn about the language, And we also have a foreign language week, but I'm not the one that teach them, okay? I'm not. So we actually have our children where they could speak foreign language, and then like the French, there's someone that teach them about a French, a very simple conversation. Then we have the Vietnamese, we have the Iranian, and we have the Japanese. So the classroom suddenly become a multicultural and multi-languages classroom, and it brought a lot of excitement as well. And from that part of learning, they also did research. Those that want, volunteer themselves to teach. So they have to do a lot of research, and then they come up with a plan. So a week plan, what they want to teach for the certain language. For example, like the Japanese. So how they want to start? They want to start with introduce Japan. Then they start with introduce the sound, and then they introduce. So everything they plan it out by themselves. So what the teachers did, we only facilitate the children in this part. And it's great actually. It's what happened. The class, the foreign language week, I think is about 3 months ago. And yet they still remember. And even right now, they still remember the Iranian song and then some of the song that they learned through the language class, and they still love it. So that's how an elementary classroom can be. It's very, very dynamic. It is not a teacher-based, it is not a teacher-oriented classroom. It's definitely a children-oriented classroom. So as I say, we're addressing their needs, okay? Transition from concrete to abstract thinking. So for example, like this science, this is actually a science experiment where children did. So we have them to brought certain kind of material that going to be used in the classroom. They learn about friction. Then they have to think how to make the car go slower. So with whatever material that they have in hand. So they have to start to come up with a solution. So this is where we call that from concrete to abstract thinking. And then the concrete definitely go back to the 3 to 6 years old class as well. It's really from that foundation that they built. So growing interest in socialization. Yes, they love socialization a lot. And that's why this is the best time for the, we call it herd learning in the classroom. Thinking and memory, that is due to their creativity and imagination. So classroom learning is not like those olden day, my time learning. We call that chalk and talk time. Chalk and talk mean only the teachers that stand in the front and the teacher talk and then write on the board. But in the classroom, especially when we teach children about language or others as well, basically mostly in language, it's really require a lot of creativity. So for them to pick up the language like bahasa in the classroom. And then, they're very interested in fairness, social justice, and they're very compassionate, very, very compassionate. Then we go to the 5 grade lesson. So what are those 5 grade lessons? This lesson are both exciting and designed to awaken the child's imagination and curiosity. As I mentioned just now, 6 to 12 years old is the peak time, especially 6 to 9 years old. Start from the 6 years old. It is the peak moment of a children's imaginations. It is so great, and they're so curious about the world. Perhaps when they're 3 to 6 years old, we teach them about the sun and the moon. We teach them about the solar system, but never how this actually was formed. Whereas when they come to elementary classroom, when they are 6 years old or 7 years old, when they join us, they will constantly have this question, Miss Sam, why it is say that our earth is actually rotating, how come I can't feel it? How the earth was formed? Is shooting star that really like shootings like an arrow, and they will come up with all kind of questions, and it's really fun. So that's the time when we give them the 5 grade lesson. Then the child will struck with wonder of creation, then it will thrill with new ideas. And then I think that is a big part of a human spirit, and we play a role to let them know that how everything was actually being formed and was created. So the child is actually both hope and promise of mankind. Yes, they are. And then the first great lesson in Montessori classroom is definitely the coming of the universe and the formation of Earth. So we told them how the universe came about in the very first day of school. If not, definitely will be on the second or the third day of school. We're going to tell them the stories of the coming of the universe. And the teachers will actually work together, and then we will actually show them, present to them with the whole of the universe, the coming of the universe. And it involved the balloons, and then the story of the beginning of the universe. And we also demonstration using solid liquids. And this actually connecting to science. So how the continent and ocean came first came together. Then, of course, we talk about the earth as well, how the earth was formed right after the universe. And then the second, we talk about coming of life. So when we talk about the coming of life, the children, they are very interesting in this. And because at the end, if you have a chance to come and visit a classroom, on this coming of life chart, at the end, only the existing of a human being. And then the children will ask, wow, and what happened, and how, and what is microorganism, and is it true that how everything evolved, and then first in the water is a invertebrate, then to vertebrate, and in the water then amphibians. So they will ask thousand of questions about this, and this is really sparkle a lot of interest. And we encourage children to do research and always come back and share with their friends in the classroom. So whoever that have any research done, they actually will have a time slot for them to do sharing in the classroom. So we told them everything is so special, including me and you. Everything that you see right now, like the plants, even every single drop of waters, the animals, those that you can see or you can't see, like the microorganism, they have a special job. Every one of us have our special. I mean, we are designated to be on this earth with a special job on this. So we respect each other, and everything is contribute to life on earth. Then the third great lesson will be coming of human beings. So how the whole rapid evolution of the human beings came about, and then we will tell them about the history, and this is actually more towards the history. And then of course we will involve them by teaching them like cave art. What's the purpose of cave art? Cave art, cave painting, and how this prehistoric man lived, and how they actually survive in that time, in that period of time. So what kind of tools and how tools were actually being invented. So those we're going to talk about a lot in the coming of the human beings. And then the fourth great lesson is the story of writing, and also known as a communication in sign. So I remember many years ago, I have a student in my class, and he always asked me, who invented writing? So I was like, yes, finally he's interested in history. And you know what's the reason that he asked who invented writing? He said, I hate that person. The person that invented writing, that makes me write every day. So he said, I don't like it. I want to know who's that person. And you know, from that hatred, I want to use hatred, because he really disliked writing. Even just a little bit of writing, he will complain about it. But from that because of that then I actually introduced to him the first person, I mean, who and how writing was actually invented and what's the purpose of it. And right after that, he's actually kind of mellowed down and respect everything that we did right now. There is a reason of everything. So in this great lesson, we talk about the development of written alphabet and how alphabet was being written, and how human actually using this letter, we so-called alphabets, actually for communication at first. So write down what in their thought. So it is important for children to learn that to write down their thoughts. So then we have like story of pictograph, symbol, hieroglyph, early alphabets. And then we go through the invention of the printing press. Yes, that will be in history. We will actually have another part is like the history of farming, how farming started at first, and how writing started first, and then now we are moving into like printing press and how this happened. So everything that they learned a lot in this great lesson. And then of course the fifth grade lesson is stories of numbers. And in these numbers, they learn about the history of mathematics. I think they are very fascinated when I teach them about the numbers, is that they will learn different kinds of different numbers terms in other languages as well. And of course, there's one that we came across quite a lot with the Greek and the Latin words that we use quite a lot in geometry. And then they also find it, wow, actually zero was not there at first, and only later on was being found out, being invented by the Indian mathematicians. So they learn about that, and then they learn the reason behind why there's a numbers of stories. So these are the five main course great lesson, and with all this great lesson, actually it can branch out to so many other lessons that we know, like the normal syllabus that we have, like our Bahasa English, our mathematics, and all this can be branching out to their lesson as well. So we say that free the child potential, you will be transforming him into the world. It is the potential that we are looking for. So that's why we don't just do chalk and talk in the classroom. We didn't. So we let them choose what they are interested in, and we are actually observing their progress and developmental in the classroom and design the plan where it's suitable for them to continue learning, or how to help them in their challenging time in the learning journey as well. So everything is actually interrelated in Montessori classroom. Nothing is actually standalone. So for example, like this chart, you can see academic as social science, where global mind, they talk about pollution, they talk about, recently they actually talk about pollution, and then they say the littering things happen, and then they saw it in our own country, and then food waste. And then they also learn about culture, and the teachers and parents, you all play together. So that's why there's a great saying, to educate a child, it is not a one person thing, it is a whole village that have to work towards to educate the child. So we are not alone. We work hand in hand a lot. We work hands in hand with parents in elementary classroom. So those are some pictures that you see that they have the activities in the classroom. So the Montessori Elementary is built on the foundation of the kindergarten. You see, they learn how to do trading, how to do a simple sewing when they're young, and then how they associate numbers with the big number rods, and they work on the cylinder knot. And you see, they learn about science, and they learn about presentation when they are in the 3 to 6 years old classroom. And same thing that when they are in elementary classroom, we also did the same thing. So these are a lot of group studies that happen in the classroom. Children, they actually discuss about some work like play in the classroom, and then another group is actually discuss about some science project they wanted to do. And then another group is they actually doing science with the parents that come in, that drop by, and then give them some great science lesson. So it's only limited actually. Nothing is actually limited, only limited by the child imagination. If you can imagine, if you can tell me what you want to do, I will try my very best to bring that lesson to you, and we learn together. So as I say, they actually teach me how to teach them. So that's a great thing. So this is when our previous pictures. I love this. I really love these activities. It just suddenly came out. The children say, "Hey, Miss Sam, can we go to that opposite? There's a piece of land there," and then they say they want to climb tree. I say, "Yeah, why not?" Then they found out the roots actually, and then they start to study about the roots. They start to draw, and then they measure the roots, and then some of them they say they want to feel the tree trunks, and then they went back to the classroom. Then they say they want to learn more about tree trunks. What is the usefulness and purpose of the tree trunk? And then some of them they collect some leaves, some seed back to the classroom for them to study. So if you can imagine, you will have a chance to learn in the classroom. So this is previously, and where they actually cooking every day, and then we have our appreciation day for our elementary children. And before the pandemic, actually, I actually took anyone that on duty that week. We will go to the Sungai Long Pasar, and they need to purchase for that week grocery ingredients that they needed for their cooking on for the lunch on that week. So, but because of the pandemic, then everything stopped. Now they actually start kick-started again in here, but I'm not bringing the children to the market, to the wet market. So they work how to work together collaboratively and cooperatively. So in here you see the learning is so fun. It's really fun in the classroom. The children helps each other. So like this one, I love this picture so much, because at that time this boy, he says that he actually saw a whale that actually eating plastic waste. The whale thought that it is food, so the whale actually ate it up, and he said that he want to make a gigantic whale in the classroom. And he make it. He did it. And then all his friends is very excited and help him to put up the whale. And then everybody is working together and helping. So parent, if you in between, if you have any question, please do stop me, because anything that you want to know, please do stop me and ask question, so I can answer you right at this time. Then, of course, the classroom is designed to nurture imagination and reason. So you see this boy, what he's holding. This is actually a sound detector. Just one day, they asked me, Miss Sam, why the bread and the bun is so soft and puff up when we bake or after we bake. So then I told them, oh, there's something called yeast. So I brought in yeast the next day. Then we did experiment on the yeast, and suddenly the boy said, is yeast have sound? So he went and get our sound detector and put it on and listen to the sound of the yeast bubbling, the awakening of the yeast. And he said, yeah, yeast have sound, Miss Sam. And then they started so fascinated about the sound detector. They went and detect all kind of sound in the classroom, in the science lab, outside. And then they even pointed, you see the girl pointed towards the oven, because they want to listen. Is there any special sound that will produced by the oven, all this thing? And then it's just so fun. So that's why I say, if they can imagine, things can happen in the classroom. And this girl, the girl that with the magnifying glass, she says that one day that we actually, this is right after a long school holiday. So we found out there's this mosquitoes eggs actually. And then she said she want to keep it. She asked us, why can't we keep it in the classroom? She said she want to observe and learn about it. So yeah, I say, of course, why not? So every day she went and observed, and then you see how the whole changes of the whole process of the mosquito. And then she even draw a little books, cartoon book about it. It's so cute. And then, of course, there's more they want to learn about science, whatever they want to learn in the classroom. Yes, we actually encourage children to do so. So yeah, this is a practical life. When they're young, they do some simple sewing in the classroom. But when they are getting older, like when they come to elementary classroom, they can sew almost anything that they want. Almost anything that they want. As long as they know the simple basic sewing, then they can start to do a lot of different kind of sewing. You see, what this girl did is that she said, how I wish that the school can provide us a day of sushi. But then I said, if you could imagine sushi, there will be sushi. So then she started to think how to have a sushi. Then she started to make sushi with yarn. This is with yarn. She actually sneak and cut, and then she actually just think about it by herself. She figured out how to make a sushi, and we were so amazed. We were so amazed by her. She even made those with shrimp. Quite a lot of sushi that she makes. And then after that, there's one day I say, I want to eat steamboat. So she made all this. You see, there's a soup, and then actually I have lesson on that day. So when I finish my lesson with the junior, I back to my table. Then I noticed my lunch was well prepared. Not only that, with the steamboat already. So she said, Miss Sam, since today we're having a vegetable soup, you could actually put those bean curd into the steamboat. There is a cuttlefish ball. And then I know you like chili, so she actually saw a little bit chili. And then she said, you can have the edamame right before you eat the steamboat. So it was so amazing. I'm so amazed by the children. And what she did is actually, she lead the rest of the of her friends as well. I mean, joining her and do all those sewing and little things. And then they also make it out from the yarn. And it was so beautiful, so beautiful. So this is also the one that I like it very much, because all this activity actually really right before the pandemic happened. And this is where just pop up one day. Then I say, I just introduced them with certain famous artists, and they just chose, they want Paul Suzanne. And then I say, well, that's great. Why? Let's learn about Paul Suzanne in the classroom. So we start to, they start by a very simple, perhaps they just draw, because Paul Suzanne are very famous with the still life art. So I just brought some fruits into the classroom, and then they start by do a very simple sketching like apple and orange, or even a vase. And then it just kickstart from there. They say they want to have an exhibition. Then I say, wow, let's do it. So they're transforming the whole classroom into an exhibition center. And do you know what these two boys are doing? They actually part of the artwork. They are the two main character in one of the very famous Paul Cézanne artwork. So they act it out. And this group of children actually, they act out the history of Paul Cézanne. They say they want to tell about, they want to tell the history of Paul Cézanne. And this group of children as well, they present Paul Cézanne work by doing a puppet show. So see, this is how everything started in the classroom. We just set up. As I mentioned, teachers, we are only facilitate the children in their learning. So they asked for it, then I brought some fruits and then just display it. Then they start to join together, and in the morning, especially with the beautiful sunlight in the morning, then they start to do the sketching, and all start from here and end up very well in the exhibition. So then this is where they say they want to look for a real model. then Miss Jess volunteered herself to be their model. So it was nice. If you look at the children point of view, they are not just drew the teachers, drew the model, but some of them they drew from their own point of view. They even drew their friend. And that's a different perspective where what we want children to see, not just one perspective. And this is actually a very great, I mean, analytical thinking, and they try to be very creative in their way. I'm very amazed. I never, it didn't come across my mind actually. I thought that they will just draw Miss Jess, but I didn't know that when they start to see things from behind, it's really amazed me. This artwork is really nice. And then of course they are their own agents of their own education. So they actually leading what they want to learn in the classroom as well. So there's a classroom, and then these are some of the activities that they did. This is the girl, the Iranian girl that actually taught us about the Iran festival cultures and also the food and their own interest. So they did a lot of sharing. This is actually the sharing, the photo we took it during the pandemic. So some of them came back for class at times. Some of them choose to stay at home. So, but we still continue the lesson as well. So they even came out like Teachers' Day things. They came out with their own design of Teachers' Day card, and they're sharing. There's a lot of sharing for the classroom, especially for the senior, the junior. At least they will do 3 to 4 sharing presentation per year, at least, or can be more than that. Sometimes it will be impromptu in the classroom. Suddenly they say they have something to present. So they are empowered to seek knowledge beyond the classroom. So we actually brought them to many, many different places and for them to explore. So recently, upcoming the zoo, they're just so excited going to the zoo. They say, I can't wait for the trip. Although they have been to the zoo, but they say like, ooh, it is the first time after, they say it is the first time after the pandemic, Sam, that we can all go out together to the trip, and they're looking forward to it. And they learn a lot. This trip actually where we brought our children to a farm, to a permaculture farm in Perak. So this is a very memorable moment for them. They actually did an interview. They actually planned right before and they interviewed the owner of the farm, and then they learned about how to do farming, what is permaculture farm, and there's a lot. Of course, there's still a lot. It's just too many photos that day. When I go through all the photos, I was like, my goodness, it's quite difficult to choose, but there's just too many to be put in the PPT. Okay, these are the one that we went to Taiwan a few years ago. It's also right before the pandemic, 2019. Yeah, 2019. And we actually doing a Montessori student exchange. We went to their school, the Montessori school. It's because all started is because they asked me, Miss Sam, how does the rest of the Montessori school look like beside our school? Are we the only one? I said, no, of course no. There's many Montessori school in others country. Then they say, how does their school look like? And there's lots of questions. Then I say, let's plan and see. So that's all start from there. Then we brave ourselves actually. It's really my first time and Miss Sophie first time. We brought the kids out from Malaysia. But it was so fun, so fun. And then they went to their classroom and then they studied with the student. And they told me, actually, Miss Sam is the same. The Montessori student actually they are the same. The only difference is from different country. And then they shared about our Malaysian culture. They even taught the kids how to make onde-onde and sing some simple Malaysian song and then teach them bahasa. This is a very memorable moment. They still talk about it right now. Then how we learned during the whole pandemic. It is a long pandemic, but I think the children being very cooperative. I really want to say they have been very cooperative in the classroom. Of course, if you say 40 minutes, we did more than 40 minutes. Right after the class, they will actually, sometimes they will call me up and say, Miss Sam, can we have extra time? So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they want to learn. That's a great thing. So stop school, but I really wanted to praise them. They really never stop learning. They are the best. Okay, so these are some of the work that they did and how actually, in this part, parent did quite a lot. I'm very thankful to the parent because they took a lot of videos and shared with us. So this is the one of the video that the parent, this is a science experiment. Does it work? Stop.
No
stop.
Sound. Yeah.
Oh.
You need to share the sound. If you
Did I share the sound? There's no sound. No sound. She's actually trying to test out how to build the strongest bridge. This is actually a science experiment. So she came out with many ideas of folding.
We can't hear you, Sam.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Just want to explain the coins.
Okay, this is actually an experiment that, can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is an experiment actually we talked, she wanted to know that how to make a stronger bridge and the importance of bridge to our day-to-day life. So I just gave her some very brief idea about the bridge. Then she started to explore in folding, the way she fold the paper, and then she even count how many coins can be put up for it to hold. Of course, not only her, we also have the rest of the students did it as well, and they love it so much. And even right after the pandemic they came back to school, and then they even asked to have the extended period of this. Then they want to make other kind of fish as well. So a lot of works is done in during the science during our pandemic time in online class. So this girl as well, she came up with her own ideas for the paper, the A4 paper, and then how to make it more stronger. You see, the way she fold is totally different from the previous girl. And this is one of the very fun, they say, you call it egg contraption. This is actually mechanical design work. So they need to design something to protect the egg. So how we do it in classroom, some of them, no, we didn't do it in classroom, sorry. This is an online class. So some of the children even stand on the tables to drop their container, and some even get a ladder from parents, and then they climb out and then they drop it. So that's how they actually test it out, and they even send us a video about this. So when I say when they're young in the kindergarten, we remove 90% of obstacles to them, and only the 10% they can learn to challenge. But actually when they're in elementary classroom, 90% of the obstacle they have to remove by themselves, and the rest of the 10% is through the guidance of the seniors or from the adult in the classrooms. So Montessori, we teach children one thing, that they will discover many things. So like in maths, like when we learn about algebra, they always like, when children come to algebra, I say, no worry, think about how you actually work with binomial and trinomial. And we using binomial and trinomial in the classroom to explain to them how to work. So why I want to use this as an ending quote of this is because especially when children, they came across things that they don't know. Some of them, they will freak out. They will give it a pause in their learning, especially in like maths. And like I mentioned earlier, like in algebra. So I told them, no worry, use what you have to find what you don't have. So that is how we're actually looking for a lot of things, a lot of answers in the classroom. So we teach them one thing, and the children, they will discover many things, and they will use what they know to discover what they don't know. That is actually happen in the classroom. It is really, really like the core in the children, in my teaching, I say, in my teaching that to the children. So true peace, suggests a triumph of justice and love among men. It reveals the existence of better world where harmony reigns. Peace. This is actually, I get it from a quote from Maria Montessori, Peace and Education. There's a book called Peace and Education from Maria Montessori. So it's a nice book to read. And when I talk about the cosmic education, how it is like, it is everything. So as I say, cosmic, when we talk about cosmic, it is a big word. Indeed, it is. But what at the end, we want the children to know that respect and peace, live peacefully, and we respect each other. Everything that exists with a reason. And we have the reason to know and to find out more. So that is actually basically more about the Montessori education. So thank you, parents. So if you have any question or anything that you will want to ask me,
thank you
or you want
very
to know
much.
more,
Yeah. Welcome to raise some question. But anyway, thank you so much to join us.